Daisy chains and sweet champagne, and 2 days alone with you. Not too far from the city by car, or maybe we can make a more romantic trip by train to the country. It's where I want to be with you for the week.
Today is Wednesday the 26th, October, whatever crazy year we're in, and we'll get ready to do the next part of this video. Hopefully I can put a whole lot more into it than what I was originally going to, and unfortunately, or actually I should say fortunately, we've had some really good changes in the build process of this, and that is because I have struggled with the actual oven build portion because of some differences between what I've got in the way of material availability and what's being used in some of the other videos that you can find online. And I was not really comfortable, but I was moving forward with it. Not really comfortable, but moving forward with it. And finally I decided, no, we got to fix something. And it took a whole lot of coordination and shuffling of things to get it to where I got the materials I needed to do. So we got a little bit of a process going here. And things have changed. Drastically, at least for the oven aspect of things. So I did a little clip, and let me show you that to you right here. Very nice and neat and tight fitting around here. I'll do a little trim work on this one, where that's where the can was at. So I'm going to cut a little bit out of this one to allow for airflow. But I'm getting the restack done on it. Walk over here. Pretty cool, ain't it? It's very soft. I can dig in it. I mean, it's firmed. It's hardened from yesterday, but it's very. It really hasn't hardened, but it also leveled things out on the top of this. On the concrete here, there was a little bit of a hump right here, which made this kind of stick up. Now all of these brick are laying, I mean, so nice and flat on each other. Okay, so that's where I was, a few days back. So what was it? What did I say? I think it was in the 11th or something. It's been a week or so. It's been some time. We had gotten a little bit of rain. And then T and I got busy again with the homesteading stuff. We've been putting away and harvesting and lots of things to get stuff together here. So this fell on the back burner for a bit. But let's come down here, honey, and take a look at what we've done different. You're going to see we've got a whole lot different brick here. And I want to talk about one of the big struggles I had with it. This brick that we have here that you've seen me show you is a insulating fire brick. This brick is an actual fire brick, and there's a difference in the consistency and the makeup of these bricks. This is what you line the inside of a wood stove with, or a fireplace, and so on and so forth. Now there's different sizes of this. This one is 1.25 inches wide. In some of these videos you'll see that they are 2.5 inches wide, just like this. So this is half the thickness of that one. Let's talk about this for just a second, because my concern was I was going to build this using this because this was what was available, and because I had very limited funds. It was cheap. Like I said, I got one of these boxes right here full of the brick for $20 plus tax and stuff at a local place. But some kept sitting with me wrong in my gut, and I'm like, well, this is what I got to do. I'm going to go with it. Yes, there are a lot of different videos on YouTube about how to build brick ovens. But you know me, I like to do things the best I possibly can. Now, I haven't always done that. There's been places where I've had to shortcut, but I try and do it the best I can with what I've got. Well, this is one of those deals where I didn't want to take any chance. Now, let me tell you what's going on here. This being a lightweight insulating brick is not as much of a thermal sink. In other words, it's not going to hold that heat energy the same way this brick is. Okay? So if I just built it the way I was showing you with this insulating brick on the inside, yes, I probably could have had some fires in there. And I probably could have done some pizza cooking in there. And it probably would have worked okay. And, you know, with cover, you know, taking the old red brick, this stuff here, and then covering the outside with it, it might have been okay. But, you know, my engineering mind said, no, in the end, this thing isn't going to hold the heat. So I went through a lot of work and challenges to figure out how to come up with the currency units in order to go get some of this. And I found that I did have another local supplier that had some of these. They're not the 2.5-inch brick, but they are the fire brick. So we did a whole rethinking of the actual oven. Now, everything that we've done here below is fine. Everything, I'm happy with it. I don't think there's an issue. What I may do is, because I managed to get a few extras of these, I may put some in the lining down here. In other words, maybe cut these bricks in half and then set some of these, because these will be a little bit more durable in the long run. And then there's another aspect of the process. In building good brick ovens, you have to have the right kind of mortar for it. And one of the mortars that I found was, or recipes, I should say, I found was, oops, it wants to come out, is this perlite mix with sand and Portland cement. So I've got the sand, I've got the Portland cement, and I was mixing the perlite. That's what I did, because this makes this little thing insulative, because we want to protect the structural concrete from getting too hot. Okay. But when you get into the fire dome or half barrel that I'm going to do on this, essentially what you need to have is a mortar that is far stronger than what is between these bricks over here, because these things, this stuff won't handle heat. You try and do that kind of mix, even if we just add perlite for insulation, it's not going to handle the heat. It'll eventually crumble. So what we had to do is we looked and researched, and there's something called refractory cement, or this, literally almost the same stuff that these bricks are made out of, which is clay, because it has a extraordinarily high temperature resistance, or melting point for that point, to like 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Or is it 3,000 Celsius? It's pretty darn hot. It's like baking pottery, okay? So you got to have the clay. Well, I went looking, and you can't find that anywhere. And it says basically you got to local source it. And then I found a lot of videos, and we looked at some stuff about, potters. How do potters do it? Where do they find their own local source? Well, the reason it's taken a little bit to get back to this portion, to the next portion of the video, is because I've been re-engineering, and it's not me knowing the difference. It's me knowing something isn't good enough and going, I want to do it right, and then doing the research and finding that. So we could not find the clay to where we could purchase it. Well, when we do a little reading, and you've heard me talk about the clay in my ground and how hard it is to mend the clay and actually mix in organic matter, minerals, and all that stuff. But I got a ton of really, really good what would be considered well driller's clay or potter's clay. And that's what we've got over here. Swing around over here. So what we did is, because I know there's a spot, there's lots of spots, like when we were digging the poles for our pole mounts, there's a spot down there that has a lot of exposed clay. And so what I did was check with all the characteristics that it said in some of the articles of what to look for, being a very light colored when it's dried out and so. And we found that there were several ways to process it, and the folks that were talking about how you would process it were discussing it from a potter's or a clay worker's perspective. We're not going to be doing pottery with this. What we want to do is mix it in as an ingredient to the recipe of the mortar that we need, the refractory mortar that we need for the for laying the brick. Hello, Mittens. So we went through two processes. Let's walk over here real quick. We went through two processes as to how to clean it up and prepare the clay so that we could use it. One, which when I was a youngin', my parents sent me through all the different art classes and pottery classes and all that. So I was heavy in the arts in my teenage years. I actually taught art for a couple years at our local fine arts center. And as a potter, I knew how to refine clay with that process, and they gave that recipe. Since I was familiar with it, I said, oh, I know how to do that. And essentially, you take your clay and you mix it up in water, and then you sift it and screen it out, and you get everything out and make sure that you've got no organic matter in it. And you can see I got a pretty nice sloppy amount of clay. And as a potter, you would let this sit for a long time. Weeks maybe. It may take a while for this to totally sit and settle down. And it does. But it's already been a couple of weeks since I really made some progress on this, and I want to move along. So I found an article and a video that discussed the dry processing of the clay. So let's go back and look at that. So what we've been doing, and I'm going to run you through it here, is we dug up out of the ground. In other words, we scraped all the organic matter off the spot where we knew there was some good clay. And it's kind of hard. It almost looks like pieces of bricks. Zoom in here, honey, or come in down low. And what happened is they were in big chunks where we dug them out. And what we did was practice a little bit to start with. And so essentially what you got to do is we cut these with a knife. We literally took a knife. Matter of fact, you did this whole batch by yourself.
Yeah, I did.
Because I was out working and helping somebody else. I was taking care of some other helping some other community members. So she sat down and did this. But once you set it out here, you get it in these small pieces so it'll dry out quick, and then you can take, and this is what we're doing. Literally crushing it up like this. And you can see we got a long dang ways to go. You know, start throwing some cuss words out there, because this is not easy and it takes a lot of time. But getting it all crushed down into little pieces like this. And as soon as I get done recording this, T and I are going to sit down and we're going to work through the rest of this, because it's going to take us a while to get this. But this is not costing us anything. This is getting this material for free, basically, because we already own the clay, right? Once I go through here and kind of do this, then we get a regular brick, And as you see, we're getting it down to a powder. And this is what you need to mix with the recipe dry. It makes it a whole lot easier. Because once clay, all right, so the consistency that you need is almost like a putty. When you go to, and here comes the rest of the crowd, Shadow, Midnight. And you need kind of a putty when, like a soft putty when you go to put the bricks together. Once I build the form and start putting all those bricks together, I'm gonna need to mix it up. So it's a heck of a lot easier to do it this way than it would be to do it with the with it wet like it is over there. Because I thought about that. I'm like, well, if I can get it down to where that clay is real loose, could I just add the sand, the Portland, and the perlite? But I don't have as much control over the moisture content in it, so we've elected to go and do this because the first batch we did, watch out, Shadow.
Well, and I will add that it's easier to measure out the proportions when
Very
it's
much-
dry
oh, yes,
instead of wet.
Yeah, very good. So the first mix that I did is right here, and you can see there's the pearl. It all blends up together really nicely. So this is well mixed. The first batch we did is obviously it's insufficient for the project. I need a lot more than this for the project. So we've been dealing with a couple of issues in moving forward, and that's one, getting the right kind of brick, because if I want to bake bread in this, and you go watch the videos and you learn a little bit about running a brick oven, a wood-fired brick oven like this. Once you get it built and you have a fire in it, you need a certain temperature for cooking your pizzas, 700, 800, 900 degrees, depending upon who you listen to, very hot. You want it to cook fast and hot. But if you want to bake bread or roast a turkey or something like that, you don't want it that hot. You want it down around 350, 400 to 450, like you would with a conventional oven. So you need a denser brick that has a higher heat sink factor to it. And then you need a better mortar for it. So it's taken us a bit. This is a learning process for me, and high recommendation. Any one of these kinds of skill sets that you think you might want to incorporate into your homestead, you better go get videos, download them, and save them in a video library for the future. Warning, 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 Will Rogers, warning, because we have all the knowledge that we need at our fingertips in these stupid phones right now. That might not be the case, but I want to do one more bit on how we're handling this clay. So the next step that we're going to do is, once we've gotten that done, actually, here, let me set this up. Honey, why don't you bring the phone over here? Let's do this stupid thing right here. All right, let's set this dude right here. Let's see, I can kind of see that. All right, so this dude right here is a classifying screen that T and I bought when we were up in the Montana, and we would go up in the creeks and streams to do some gold panning. So there's a certain size hole here in the wire screen, but we're going to use this to classify out our the other screens right here. And then I have a piece of window screen right here. Did you get the shovel? Where's your little shovel? The little hand shovel.
I do not know where it's at. I saw it.
Well, let's just put it, let's do like you were going to do. Let's put it in that bucket like we did. Hand me the bucket. Go ahead and dump it all in here. Tip it up. Or wait, let's do this. We got a little more room. You got the broom. So all that stuff that we just ground out, we really need to get the finest part of it out of there. So we'll take this bucket. I'm going to put my classifier in. Like I said, this thing is nice. It was made to go into a 5-gallon bucket. So then I have a doubled up piece of window screen, the fiberglass nylon kind. And then go ahead, keep dumping. All right, stop right there. All right, so get that bucket. Is it good and dry in the bottom? Should be. All right, there it is. Here. Here, let's put that in there. This stuff still needs to be ground up a little bit more. Go ahead and dump it all. So I'm just going to shake it back and forth and sift it down. There. Now, let's take a look at this. Alright, so we cut it up with a knife, a kind of dull one, into chunks. We let it dry out. This gave it more surface area and allowed it to dry out pretty quick. And then I ran it through both of those. Dusty. And look at the fine powder. This is what we can mix with the Portland cement and sand. And then this part right here, this part right here is still kind of crumbly, so we're going to put it back on our cinder block up in here, and we're gonna run that brick over it and pulverize it a couple times. Switch. All right. Maybe I'll get this clip up just by itself because it is a lot of data that's going into it. There's a lot of stuff that we're looking at, what we have to do to finish this thing off and make it be right that will last for a long time. I want, because once things, things are going to be, being able to get materials could be challenging for a while. So there's a good amount here. And that is about what we did the first go round in this. So it's not enough. And so it's preparation. When we're doing it ourselves, because we have it available and it saves us from having to worry about currency units when we go to do it. Let's look and talk about one last thing here before I guess end this segment. This, come on in here. This setup, and I'm going to have to recut a lot of brick and all this. This setup is going to be very nice. I'm far happier now with what I've got available to me than I was. No, it's not a full 2.5 inches thick. It's 1.25 inches. However, because it's a brick and a brick and a brick, because I'll have these when I go out here, and these will get mortared in right up against here, that this wall is going to be hard and solid. It's going to be extraordinarily structural in nature, and it will be well able to handle the heat. So there's a lot of improvements. Just doing what I've done is going to make to it. I'm glad I've got the opportunity to do this. It should make all the difference in the world as to the function, the way this oven actually cooks stuff. So I got some thoughts in how I'm going to do the mortar on this, because I do have very square, straight, flat bricks. I think I'm only going to do a layer of mortar between the courses and not in between the bricks, because that will help me align the bricks. And all I have to do is shift a row up, shift a row up. And then I've got the structure to build. I think everything should hold fairly solidly from top to bottom. And then with this red brick on the outside, being the another structural component to it. I won't be doing like a poured layer. This is what I was originally thinking, is that I would take a bunch of this, and once I had this brick over it, packing that around it to kind of hold it all together. Still didn't feel that good. It really didn't. This feels a whole lot better based on everything that I've learned so far. So there's a lot of data and information in everything I need, because once I do this, undoing it isn't going to be easy, and it will be extraordinarily expensive. So there you go. The whole idea is to make sure that it operates properly, and because of the heat in here, at some point in time, it doesn't fall to pieces. So where are we at time-wise?
24:30.
Yeah, that's a whole video in itself. So maybe we'll do this. So anyway, we still have a lot of preparation to do, getting the rest of that clay. We're going to pound dirt, my friends.
Yeah.
This is what we're going to do. Now, what I will say is this. For those of you who really, really want to cut the budget on this, if you can find clay like this, we've seen a few videos where people have built really nice brick ovens like this with just the clay, just clay and sand. And they done it the old school way. And there's a bunch of really neat folks that from like reenactment guy. They said
Townsend.
Townsend, Townsend. He's got some videos up on how they did it in a day. And the big issue is you don't fire, that doesn't get fired hot enough to ever really turn that clay into a brick or tile or adobe or whatever. But if you want to be able to have an oven, look at those techniques. They're pretty cool. They're pretty cool. I mean, yeah, I think you could do that and then come over and cover it with this kind of brick, and it might last a good while. But this is going to last me many decades if everything works out properly. So. And there was one other, there's another very popular YouTube channel. He's been up for a few years. We've been watching him. My Self-Reliance. He is,
Oh yeah.
what's his name?
Sean James.
Sean James, yes. And he's got another channel. And he did one, and he's got a series of videos on that where he did it with just the Adobe mud. I want better than that. I want something that maybe my grandchildren's grandchildren could potentially come out here and use. So. Anyway, folks, I know this is a long video, and I really haven't made a whole lot of progress, but there's a hell of a lot of information that I've had to gain and learn in order to do this right. Remember, the Your Wish is Your Command video audios that I told you to go look at many years ago. What did Kevin say? Who do you listen to? Who do you listen to? You listen to not only your gut and your connection with God, that's one thing, but the other aspect is those who have succeeded at what you want. You want to learn from the best of the best of the best, and you know, these are new things for me, and I didn't know a lot of this stuff, and I've had to learn a lot about how clay works, how fire works, how these particular materials work, so that when I go to do this, maybe my wall is a little bowed and wavy, but it's going to be there for a while. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one. But there you go.